Hey everyone, as of late, we've had some fun mocking Terrence Howard for his delusions of grandeur, as well as Billy Carson for his lazy grifting, and even the two of them together. Well, there's some more of that to be had today, so if that's something you're into, you're in luck. Let's see what's new in their world, shall we? Just to provide a bit of context for anyone new to the channel, a while back I decided to tear apart Terrence Howard's hilarious Joe Rogan appearance where he proclaimed that 1 × 1 = 2. Then I did the same for Billy Carson's Joe Rogan appearance just a bit later where I debunked his Ancient Aliens-style script of lies that he stole from other grifters. Then I hit Terry again when he went back on Joe Rogan with Eric Weinstein. Finally, Terry went on Billy's channel for a bizarre interview which gave us the opportunity to laugh at them together. Well, their gullible fans must have begged for more, because Bill and Terry are at it again with their next excellent adventure, in which they will use their super awesome quantum minds to decode the Matrix. This, of course, is possible because, contrary to popular belief, The Matrix is not a movie from the 90s with Keanu Reeves like you thought, but is actually the reality we all live in. And by reality we all live in, I am of course referring to the pathetic blue-pilled fantasies of delusional narcissists who have convinced themselves they took the red pill and are walking through life as none other than Neo himself. Those are the intellectual toddlers Billy and Terry are grifting to. Well, since so many of you have asked to be kept abreast of their shenanigans, let's take a peek at what these wannabe Wachowskis have to say these days. Wow, this is just like a real movie, except instead of this being a graphic for a production company, it's just a pointless logo for a URL, which of course is Terry's website featuring his bad math and lame music meant to showcase his hat collection. I hope someone got paid for this logo, unlike the poor saps who built his drone for him.
This is going to force science to rewrite books.
This is the fractal.
Yes.
You wrap yourself in the key of that other galaxy.
Dear God, the fractal of the key of the galaxy. I hope you guys are entertained by this video because I already regret my decision to make it.
Boxes, I cannot fit in the boxes. Stop it. Quitting was never an option. Exhausted.
These guys are really investing in themselves with this production value. I won't subject you to the entire ridiculous theme song, but Billy is right, of course. You can't put him in a box, because that would imply that he has something of enough value that would be worth selling.
Terrence Howard is a celebrated American actor known for his strong performances in movies such as Hustle and Flow and Iron Man. He was born March 11, 1969 in Chicago, Illinois, to Tyrone Howard and Anita Williams.
Okay, most of you noticed on their last video that Billy spelled Terry's name incorrectly. It's supposed to be an E there, not an A. So as hilarious as it is that they didn't figure that out and are misspelling it again in front of his face, it's nowhere near as funny as the fact that Billy can't spell parents. You guys, I just told you that Billy can't spell parents. Strap in.
Terrence decided to move to New York to become an actor. At first, he enrolled as a student of chemical engineering at Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, New York.
Funny how there's no actual pictures of Terry doing anything academic whatsoever, such that they have to use these shitty AI animations, huh? It's almost like he never really went to college or ever studied anything.
Dropping out after just 2 years, he began to make small appearances in television shows, including a part in The Cosby Show, starring Bill Cosby.
Thanks for jogging my memory about who starred in The Cosby Show, Billy. I did actually forget. Of course, there's no need to mention that he's a serial rapist, just like you'll never confront Terry on his serial wife-beating.
Moving from television to film, Howard caught his big break with more prominent roles. The first of these was the 1995 film Mr. Holland's Opus.
I have to apologize. In my first video on Terry, I said that I've never seen him act. I just found out that I was wrong. I've seen Mr. Holland's Opus. It's great. So I've seen him in exactly one movie. Anyway, Billy goes through Terry's entire list of IMDb credits. I'm not kidding. This is a full 5 minutes of clips from every movie Terry has ever been in. But finally, the grand introduction is over, so let's join the boys in the studio, where they are talking about the last time they spoke spoke for that ridiculous video we covered previously.
With as crazy as it was with the connection and the bugs and everything else and the heat, the people got a lot of knowledge out of it. People really resonated with that. Yeah.
They really seem to enjoy just the back and forth and the honesty.
Yeah.
You know, we both are coming from the same kind of place. I mean, I try everything I can to be a man of integrity.
Yeah.
You know,
honesty and integrity. No two words could possibly describe these jerks better than honesty and integrity, am I right? Except maybe perpetually dishonest, or intellectually bankrupt, or charlatanry incarnate. Come up with your own at home.
I only hang out with people that have integrity. Like I used to have friends before, and they would cheat on their wives. And I'm like, how can I be a friend with you? How can I expect you to have any fidelity with our friendship when you stood in a room in a church in front of your family and her family, all your ancestors from the past, and all that you will come to be, and you promise to do something, and then you break that, and you think I'm going to be a friend. No, we don't do that.
Terry's imaginary friends in this anecdote are breaking their marital vows by cheating on their wives. Terry, by contrast, gallantly upholds his version of to love and to cherish by beating the crap out of his wives with closed fists. That's much better than imaginary adultery, as anyone would agree, except maybe his wives.
And so speaking of that, I mean, were you ever into religion? And if so, how did that encourage you to explore science and invention?
The Bible did say something that impressed me. It said that God was suspending the circle of the earth above nothing at all. And this is at a time when everyone considered the earth to be flat.
Right.
Terry and Billy are a little confused. A circle is a two-dimensional shape. Circles are flat. Spheres are three-dimensional, and they are not the same thing as circles. The people who wrote the Bible probably did believe the earth was flat and are objectively describing a flat shape, which is not a sphere. Whoops.
And then there was another point in Job, it says, where God was four angels are at the four corners of the earth holding back the winds. And I'm like, how does a sphere have four corners? You know, so that ignited a desire towards geometry and understanding it.
Circles don't have corners, neither do spheres, and circles are not spheres. Terry has never been interested in understanding geometry, which is why his grasp on the subject is less than that of the average 8-year-old.
But the necessity, in order for anything to be measurable, it had to have four equal and opposite or measurable dimensions.
Yeah, exactly.
For anything to be measurable, it has to have four equal and opposite dimensions. Terry has an uncanny ability to come up with the dumbest sentences ever spoken by any human person. Four equal and opposite dimensions? Three-dimensional objects have length, width, and height. We do not experience any fourth spatial dimension. And the three we experience are neither equal nor opposite. Vectors pointing in opposite directions are defining the same dimension. Presumably he meant sides instead of dimensions, which would make him even dumber because he would then be describing a square. Only squares can be measured, not triangles or circles or pentagons. The cherry on top of this bullshit sundae is Billy chiming in with exactly, which means he's decided to switch up his classic catchphrase, facts. Let's see how many times Billy just says exactly after Terry says something incomprehensibly stupid.
What was your journey in learning quantum physics?
Well, you hear these stories about Einstein or these great inventors or physicists.
We can jump in right here. As you are all well aware, Terry has never learned any quantum physics. He's never learned any physics. Sorry, he's never learned any science. That's why he's going to dive into some stories.
But then the information and the theories that they present are contradictory to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, how are these things making any kind of progress or attempting to assist progress into advancing any math or any technology?
Well, they don't contradict each other at all. And if you're asking how quantum physics advanced math and technology, you're just admitting point blank that you know zero things about quantum physics, since physicists had to invent a whole new set of mathematical tools to describe the behavior of quanta. And the fruits of our new understanding of those quanta inform the production of every single stitch of electronics in our entire lives. Great job, moron.
By the time I got 30 or 40, you know, all of these, whether string theory was real or not, it would be proven, or whether relativity was real or not. I was like, Einstein never received a Nobel Prize except for his work on the photoelectric effect, and that was Max Planck's work.
Right.
Right, says Billy, the brainless hack. No, Billy, and no, Terry, not right. The explanation of the photoelectric effect, which everyone is supposed to learn in 10th grade chemistry class, was Einstein's work. That's why he got the Nobel for it. They don't give Nobels to people for work they didn't do. That Einstein got the Nobel for that doesn't mean that relativity isn't true. It is. There are dozens of ways that we can demonstrate that relativity is consistent beyond reasonable doubt, from the very first corroboration of its predictions with the Eddington experiment, as well as the perihelion precession of Mercury, to observations of gravitational lensing, to black holes, all the way to clocks on satellites being programmed with correction factors to account for time dilation. Relativity isn't in competition with string theory, Terry. Relativity is a wildly successful model that only complete idiots try to disparage. Every word out of your mouth continues to demonstrate that you know zero things about physics.
But I couldn't get any understanding from that, so I started looking into the people that were questioning, that were enemies of his, of Einstein's ideas, in a sense.
Of his concepts,
So I went into Lorentz, who in 1905, who had his own idea regarding the electron and the superpositioning of models of how everything behaved.
Einstein and Lorentz were not enemies, Terry, and that their work was somehow incompatible is the precise opposite of the truth, since Lorentz transformation equations are part of relativity. When you calculate time dilation and length contraction in special relativity, you are using Lorentz's equations, since he was the first to describe how space and time are related in different inertial reference frames, which is kind of the entire point of special relativity. Do you see what happens when you have no clue what you're talking about, Terry?
But his stuff was based off of Maxwell's work, and Maxwell's work was based off of an ether. Everyone believed that there was this subspace ether, this fabric of space.
No, not a fabric of space. Relativity involves a space-time fabric. The ether was an alleged medium that permeates space, and it doesn't exist. Yes, in Maxwell's time, people thought there was an ether. Then the Michelson-Morley experiment proved there is no ether, setting the stage for special relativity on the basis of the speed of light as the fundamental constant of the universe. In the history of science, there are crucial discoveries that change how we understand the universe. Everyone before a particular discovery believed a wrong thing. It happens a lot. It'll happen again. Catch up 140 years, idiot.
And so I looked into their work and John Keely's work and Victor Schauberger's work.
His work is incredible. I mean, I remember doing an episode in Deep Space, a TV series I did years and years ago, and I had to study Victor Schauberger, and just like blew my mind.
That he was so conscious.
Oh my goodness.
And passionate about you're killing the forest. This forest is dead.
Yes, Billy, we totally believe you that you know who that is and have studied something one time. I mean, you said his name and everything. What's not to believe? I mean, you said something about deep space, and Victor was a forester and pseudoscientist, so those things go together. And then Terry said 2 vague adjectives. Oh my goodness. We are killing the force. Help us, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're our only hope.
You've killed the water. How in the world do you kill the water?
Right.
Dr. Yamamoto didn't come out with that until, what, the 80s?
The 80s, yeah.
And Victor Schauberger had been talking about that since the late 1800s, the living water.
Yeah, he was ahead of his time.
Ha ha ha, yes, the man you are referencing that I totally know about was so ahead of his time regarding the dumb fake thing you are referencing that I also totally know about. Morons, water isn't alive, so it can't be killed, and the gigantic fraud Masaru Emoto, who was not a scientist but a businessman, never even said water was alive. He pretended that talking to water would affect how it crystallizes, which it doesn't. He just made it all up. James Randi offered Emoto $1 million to recreate his fake experiment under rigidly controlled conditions, and he refused. Gee, I wonder why. Anyone who references Emoto earnestly is a gullible tool.
But I had to go in search of that. I went to school for chemical engineering or applied for electrical engineering, but I was looking at the antiquated ways in which they were dealing with the universe or their approach to it and asking questions, and they didn't have an answer.
This is just like Chris Langan pretending he was too smart for college because his imaginary calculus teacher couldn't answer his dumb question about infinitesimals. Terry, there's nothing antiquated about how universities teach chemical engineering, or electrical engineering, or whatever field you're pretending to have been studying. You're just too dumb and lazy to go to college.
They didn't have an answer. It was not sufficient for 96% of the universe to be unknown.
Unknown, dark matter, dark energy, which is still unknown.
Unknown.
Yeah.
Unknown. Unknowable.
Why the shit would an engineering course be talking about dark matter and dark energy, genius? That's astrophysics. I really wish charlatans would stop presenting this 96% unknown crap as though it means anything. Just because there is a lot of dark matter, it doesn't lessen the significance of what we understand about all the baryonic matter that's all around us. Nor is dark matter unknowable in the first place. I can't wait until physicists figure out what it is so we can finally stop being subjected to this whole song and dance.
And the 4% that they have out there, the speed of light, that's not a true constant in it because light changes its speed depending on the medium it goes through. That's like having the speed of the human race. Mm-hmm. You know, black people are going to run differently than white people, than Asians.
That's a fact.
Everything is going to change. It's a conditional fact.
Yeah.
Holy hell, what a 7-layer dip of stupidity they pump out every single minute. The 4%, like the speed of light, the 4% represents baryonic matter. Light is not matter, first of all, but the speed of light is neither light nor matter. It's just a constant. It's a number, and it is indeed a constant. Light doesn't actually change speed as it travels through different mediums. It's just forced to interact with more or fewer particles as it passes through a substance, depending on the composition and density of that substance. The actual speed of light does not change. That's kind of the entire basis of special relativity, genius. And if all of that wasn't stupid enough, he starts rambling about the speed of black people versus white people versus Asian people like a complete lunatic, and Billy, the empty shell of a human that he is, just giggles along and says, "That's a fact." What is this reality?
That was me. What about you?
Well, me, yeah, it was really interesting. I loved science when I was in school, science and chemistry. I was really good at it.
Oh, wow, science and chemistry? That's interesting to me, because when I was in school, I loved sports and soccer. I also loved food and French fries, but my favorite hobby was reading books and Tolstoy. Billy, you don't know what chemistry is, and you're fooling nobody.
I had already been studying aerospace technology for years. I studied aerospace technology since 1977. In 1977, I saw something in my backyard that I perceived to not be an airplane.
Billy thinks that pretending to see a UFO as a child is the same thing as studying aerospace technology. That's interesting because I saw Bigfoot when I was 10, which means I've been an anthropologist for 30 years.
It didn't have a cockpit, didn't have wings, didn't have windows on it or anything. And it came back and stopped completely silent, and it just disappeared again. I ran in the house and told my mom, and she was like, there was advanced beings in the ancient past. And she told me about Machu Picchu. She said they used to live on tops of big mountains. And that was in 77.
Yes, in this story that is totally real and not made up at all, when Billy told his mom about the awesome UFO, without batting an eyelash, she immediately started rambling about Machu Picchu for no apparent reason, and the rest is history. What an amazing and heartwarming origin story for Billy's pathetic Ancient Aliens grift, which once again is totally real and not made up at all. So we can stop hounding him about the fact that he stole his entire script of lies from Zecharia Sitchin to make money on the internet.
fast forward, that gave me a quench and a thirst for technology, just understanding aerospace, swept wing, delta wing, ballistics, and everything else. I studied all that stuff for years. Didn't get really deep into the science other than basic high school science.
No, you've never studied anything in your life, not even high school level science, and you know zero things about any of those subjects. You just have a fake space agency that is nothing more than a website because you think it makes you look smart. It doesn't.
Something happened to me with wanting to understand science at a deeper level into quantum physics. And I really started deep diving into physics. A lot of the same people you mentioned, I was researching them, studying them heavily. I actually went to Khan University, Khan. It used to be free, but now you have to pay, I think, a minimum like 10, 15 bucks a month or something like that right now online, an online university for quantum physics. So I went there online, started taking those courses, and I was able to understand all this information.
No, Billy, you do not understand the first thing about any kind of physics, but much more importantly, there is no Khan University. Google Khan University. All you get is Khan Academy. He's talking about Khan Academy, a website. He's pretending that watching YouTube videos equals going to college, and that Khan Academy is specifically for quantum physics. It's like if someone said that they got a degree in quantum physics at Professor Dave University. Seriously, it's exactly like that. That's how stupid Billy thinks his viewers are. Hey Billy, why don't you give me $100,000 and I'll give you a piece of paper with my face on it that says PhD in quantum physics. What do you think? As a bonus incentive, I'll even stop making fun of you constantly. Could be worth it, no?
And I realized that the quantum physics is really explaining what's happening on the spiritual realm. In other words, the quantum physics is the breakdown and understanding of spiritual energy and what's really happening when you're meditating, when you're focusing on things, when you're trying to manifest reality. All those things are really explained through quantum physics.
Yeah, when you meditate, there are these bubbles, and then a ball rolls across this sheet. That's how it works. The ball is you, and the bubbles are the manifesting. It's so obvious, you guys.
All of those things, all of that 4% of the universe, they've received Nobel Prizes and all of that for it, but they haven't produced anything that's changing the world or the conditions or making the world a better place. So it still looks like Solomon said, you're chasing after the wind.
Yeah, nobody in the history of physics has ever changed the world. Light bulbs, airplanes, computers, satellites, what a bunch of useless junk, am I right?
If what they said about God is true, that means I'm an artifact. That he just formed some clay and made me and blew some life into me. And they forgot to mention, or the people that was writing it was unaware of the Brownian effect, that clay is not some dead, unliving material. That clay is alive. It's vibrating and polarizing from positive to negative. Everything, and it's mating. Everything is mating. Like when I mentioned wave conjugations, I always hear, oh, waves don't conjugate. It's like, no, you don't understand that these things are living and are mating. The sex principle is a big part of everything. That's how the universe reproduces itself.
My God, he is just completely manic. I don't know what's more pathetic, Terry vomiting this total nonsense like a fire hose, or Billy mindlessly nodding along without even registering a single word. Terry, there is no Brownian effect. It's called Brownian motion, and it's just the random motion of particles suspended in a medium. It has nothing to do with clay. You are not clay. Clay is not alive. Nothing is polarizing from positive to negative. No, inanimate matter does not mate. There is no sex principle. You're just a pervert. The universe does not reproduce itself. That doesn't mean anything. I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
All of this is an illusion, and to consider all of our collapsing waves, like the weight, the atmosphere, the pressure, the weight of the atmosphere, that's what holds each system together. So it should be the returning magnetic waves are responsible for the things that we call matter holding itself together. But if we just go on.
No, this is great. This is phenomenal, man. This is a great conversation. I think people are going to get a lot out of this, and I'm so glad that we're here doing this in person, man.
Yeah, people are really getting a lot out of this if they haven't gouged their eyeballs out yet. There are no magnetic waves, and we know very well how matter holds itself together. That would be electromagnetism and the strong nuclear force.
And I really think you have a magnificent mind, and whether a person went to Stanford, Harvard, or MIT or whatever, it means nothing. It means absolutely nothing.
That's funny. So why do you lie to people and pretend you went to Harvard and MIT, Billy? Did you think those certificates from free, ungraded 6-week online courses make you seem smart by associating you with those universities? Smells like hypocrisy to me.
Because who was the first quantum physicist? And where did his degree come from? It didn't exist, right? There's no degree. There's no university. He went to the University of Life. And he got his degree in nature.
I guess the first quantum physicist would have been Max Planck, and he got his doctorate at the young age of 21 at the University of Munich. Not the University of Life, Billy. That's not a thing. Even an idiot like you should know that.
And then he began to teach that to people, and then eventually they created a university, and then eventually people got a certificate for going there.
A doctorate isn't a certificate, you nitwit. All of this is you still trying to pretend that your fake certificates mean anything. Physicists get doctorates. PhDs, Billy. They don't watch videos online for 6 weeks. They first get a bachelor's degree over 4 years, and then they continue to study for 5 to 7 additional years where they do actual research, like in a laboratory, with equipment, something you can't even wrap your head around. And like a toddler, Billy thinks that entire universities offer studies in only one subfield of one scientific discipline, as though quantum physics had to first exist, and then a university of quantum physics could be created that offers degrees in only quantum physics. Holy hell. I mean, I know the guy never went to college, but does he even know what a university is? Does he have even a vague idea of what they are and what happens there? The ignorance is breathtaking.
Now, what they've done is they've pedestalized all of the old inventors or theorists and physicists from before. So now it is heretical.
Yes.
Heretical to even question.
Facts. It became a religion.
It's a religion.
No, science isn't a religion just because you're too dumb and lazy to learn science. You can question whatever you want, but you first have to understand physics well enough to even ask a coherent question, which neither of you bozos are anywhere in the ballpark of being able to do. Instead of whining about pedestals, be an adult. Crack a book open and catch up to what centuries of actual smart people have figured out with actual empirical science.
You know, I thought that by presenting patents, I thought that inventing new forms of flight, innovating multiple areas, starting the being responsible for half of the AR/VR that's out there, that all of these things would be enough.
Terry, we've been over this. You haven't done any of that. You don't have patents. You didn't invent anything. You paid people to build a drone for you. Your dumb AR/VR thing is a rejected patent application. You're just lying. Everyone knows you're lying and is laughing at you, and it's not just because you're wearing a hat over your hoodie.
If it took 500 million sperm in order for me to get here and get to that egg, you know, I had to win a race against 500 million. I think getting to the next stage of our evolution and growth, if A is equal to B and B is equal to C, then everybody isn't going to make it.
Yeah.
And so I don't need to beat a dead horse in trying to encourage people to look and challenge things. You know, the material is out there. The proof is out there. I've given it, you know, sufficiently.
We are challenging things, Terry. We're challenging you on your bullshit. You're a pointless buffoon, and this cult you're trying to start to insulate yourself from bad press isn't gonna happen. Although the way Billy nervously nods and smiles no matter what you say makes me think you have at least one person hostage.
How do you maintain your morality in a world that's dark and immoral? How do you avoid the puffy parties? You know, how do you avoid the Epstein ultimate effect?
Puffy parties? How do you avoid the Epstein effect? Is Terry asking for advice on how to not become the biggest pedophile sex trafficker in human history? Maybe Billy has a certificate from another 6-week online course he can point you to, Terry, but most of us don't need much help with that.
I wanted what Jesus was trying to accomplish. I didn't want what Jesus did.
Yeah.
I wanted what he was trying to do.
Right.
So when I go about and I'm doing my very best to be the Messiah in my daily life.
Yeah.
Terry just said the quiet part out loud. You're not the Messiah, kiddo. You're not saving anyone. You're not liberating anyone. You're just some insecure, egomaniacal jerk who wants to be worshipped.
I know that all of these plants have been praying and hoping. You know, they're alive, they're conscious, they're praying in this hot California heat for someone to bring them water. And every day when I'm giving them water, I'm the extension of God. I'm making their dreams come true. And sometimes my wife is upset about the fact that I'm out there putting all of this time into it, but it's what moves me in hopes that when I'm in a situation that there's a greater being that's able to hear it. And if everybody is doing that.
It makes me laugh to imagine Terry in his garden pretending to be the god of the plants. Most people just water plants because that's how you take care of plants. Terry pretends he's doing some incredible godlike thing by putting water on plants. How infantile.
You are the one that you've been waiting for. You are the savior you've been waiting on. And when people get the concept of understanding that they are their own saviors versus taking the victim mentality and trying to make an outside source into a slave, this world will change, the universe will change overnight.
Yeah, did you hear that, victims of societal oppression? You're not a victim, just be a savior. Cosplay as a savior, and all of your problems will vanish immediately. Regular Tony Robbins over here.
And we do have God's power because we have the ability to bring life or death to multitudes of creatures.
Yes.
We can blow a planet out of the sky if we want. So we have the power of God. What are we doing with it?
Exactly.
We can blow a planet out of the sky? That's news to me. Go ahead and make Mars explode, Terry. Show me this power of God that you possess. I'll give you $1 million if you can make Mars explode with your mind. But if you can't do it, you have to give me all of your hats. Sound good?
Maybe we're just a product of this condition of when the Earth or planet gets to this particular position from the sun, and the Earth will ultimately have to be pushed out to where Mars is, and everything will expand on it. There has to be something that tears it down. So maybe humanity is that thing that tears down, that which was put up. Maybe that is our position because apparently that's what we seem to do. We're very caustic, and I'm hoping that we can become non-caustic, and maybe that's the idea of what Homo sapiens are. Homo sapiens. But I can no longer consider myself to be part of a Homo sapien species when they are nothing like me.
Nothing like you? Not mentally, no. You're a complete sociopath and you should be ashamed of yourself every minute of every day. But physically, you're not special, Terry. You're a meat sack full of organs just like the rest of us. So spare us this bullshit we've already debunked about the sun pooping out planets, which then slowly traverse outwards. That's not a thing, and you know it.
I'm an actor because I wanted to win my mother's approval. My mother wanted my son to be my brother to be an actor, and I wanted her affection so bad that I'm like, okay, if I become an actor, I'll get her affection. But the moment she died, I realized, what am I doing this? I had no, hey, Ma, look what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, I've gotten distracted, being insecure about my affection with my mother. How many more of us are pursuing things that have nothing to do with our calling or our purpose because we're my mother's been dead, for damn near 20 years now.
That's funny because you've been acting this whole time. You did some acting this year. So are you still acting for your long-dead mother, or is this just your pathetic way of pretending that your true calling is this ridiculous grift you've been lobbing at us recently?
Man, you speaking true facts today. I had run many companies. I built several big companies. Before I got in, became forbidden knowledge, I was running a huge call center, a 5,000 square foot call center in Fort Lauderdale. And we had about 50 people on the phones, 2 stories of this nice building, and generating about $150,000 to $200,000 a week in gross revenue, doing pretty well. But I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy because, I wasn't living in my passion, obviously. My passion wasn't being fulfilled. It wasn't something that I felt was my true mission here.
What a shock. Billy has the same bullshit story. He was making money, but he wasn't happy because he hadn't found his true passion, making money, but specifically by lying to black people on the internet. His money-making dream wasn't complete until he found a way to defraud people at the same time. Funny how Terry and Billy have the same exact dream, being cult-leading frauds. I guess that's why they're such fast friends now.
I walked into the office and went to my partners and said, guys, I'm out of here. And they said, what do you mean? I said, I have to really follow my passion. I have to walk away. And they were stunned and shocked because I had set this whole system up and it was very successful. And they said, well, how much do you want for your share of the company? I said, you guys keep my share. I'm starting from zero. And I walked out and I became forbidden knowledge, you know, and I just started from zero.
Wow, I was gonna say that Billy is clearly full of shit and obviously lying about all of that, but then I saw this stock footage of some guy walking, and now I totally believe him. Of course he gave up his imaginary share of his imaginary company for no reason whatsoever, even though he had a family to support. Why would he make that up?
Do you remember that book, Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson?
Oh, no, I don't know that one.
Oh, my God.
Check it out.
You'll love it. But it's a story of these 4 little creatures, 2 little mice and 2 little people.
Yeah.
And they live outside of this enigma.
Okay.
What do you call it when there's, damn, I just had a senior moment.
It's like a cave?
When the mouse runs through this.
Oh, the mouse hole?
Yeah, but what is that called?
Oh, the maze.
The maze.
Yeah.
The maze. Oh, my God. I kept calling it music.
Don't worry.
Funnier than Terry not remembering the word maze, I like how he was gesticulating the rectangular confines of something that a mouse runs through, and Billy took a stab at it with mouse hole. I would pay $1,000 to watch these idiots play Pictionary.
For me, it's been the same thing of, you know, I could be quiet and be a good actor and make millions and millions of dollars. But that's not what I wanted. What I wanted to do was to explore the truth and then share that truth with individuals.
No, you definitely wanted to be the most famous actor on the planet and make millions of dollars, Terry. You wanted that really badly. That's why you went completely insane when you got fired from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You missed out on fame and money because you're an insufferable maniac. So now you're trying to start a cult by pretending that you didn't care about acting, while continuing to take any acting role anyone will give you.
You have to use them. And so I knew that they didn't have facts. They just had propaganda. They didn't have any facts behind them, or these theories would no longer be theories. They would be constants and accepted things in there.
They wouldn't be theories, they would be constants. It goes without saying that Terry doesn't know what either of those words mean, but the way he just pretends that literally all of science is propaganda is the most pathetic toddler take imaginable. Hey asshole, what's this? This thing in your pocket that you press to make everything happen. How does it work? Explain it to me without any science. Explain it to me without mentioning atoms, or forces, or pressure, or electronics, or any of the propaganda you're talking about. How do you manage to piss me off this much, even when I already know what you're going to say? It's almost impressive.
And I had the actual proof. I had simple proof down to the malfunctioning of the calculator and the things that they hold as important and reliable. I'm like, no, this is you can't rely on.
It's flawed.
It's flawed. Yeah. The foundation of your entire world is flawed, and I'm presenting the truth and with proof. And I say it's the truth because it comes with the proof of it.
Yeah.
You know,
No, you bring the receipts.
Yes.
That's what you bring in, the receipts, and that's what matters.
Terry, that you don't know how to use a calculator isn't proof of anything. Everything you say about math has been proven wrong to your face, and I would love to see a receipt for your calculator, but I would bet money that you stole it.
It's not really a law or a constant, but I guess it might be considered a constant hypothetically. Love, right? And which is a frequency. And if you look at like the movie Star Wars, the Jedi, they use the frequency for the light, and then the Empire uses the same frequency for the dark.
No, love is not a frequency. That's meaningless. I would give one of my kidneys if the whole world could just learn what the word frequency means. And don't start on Star Wars, Billy. We've had it bad enough with the crap Disney has been shoveling out. We don't need to hear you pretend to know how the Force works. The Force isn't a frequency. Frequency means cycles per unit time. Cycles of what? When you say the word frequency by itself, instead of referencing the oscillating or recurring thing that exhibits a frequency, you sound like an idiot.
So if we go to my book, tcotlc.com, this is kind of the journey of how these wave conjugations came about.
Okay.
I was told that our fundamentals came from the Platonic solids.
Who told you that, Terry? Give me a name. Tell me the name of the imaginary person who told you that anything in science is somehow derived from the Platonic solids, because it isn't at all.
I was like, so where did the straight line come from?
Yeah.
You know, here I am asking, you know, how did God come to be?
Right.
You know, where did, because God is the straight line. Because what do they say? We want to straighten something out. Yeah. If there's any situation that's wiggly, you know, let's put a ruler on it. Let's straighten this out. Let's get it all squared away. So that's their kind of God. I was like, let me look at this.
God is a straight line now? There's nothing wiggly in the entire universe? Don't you also say that there are no straight lines? So are you admitting there is no God? Do you ever listen to yourself talk so you can even try to avoid contradicting yourself every 10 seconds?
The creator demands equanimity. Everything has an equal and opposite reaction. Therefore, every reaction is going to be curved and based on the angular momentum that's created from the intersection.
Man's equanimity? I would ask if you know what that word means, but I know you don't. Every reaction is going to be curved? Why? You've never seen motion along one dimension? Two pool balls strike each other along a straight line with the same kinetic energy and stop. Where's the curve there, genius? Where's the angular momentum? Please, straight line God, get me to the end of this.
Now here's the flower of life.
Okay.
You know?
Yep.
As the age of it is almost unknown, but each and every, it's 64 overlapping circles, but there are no straight lines there. But at a time when the thought was that there were straight lines or the world was flat, guess what they did? They averaged the spaces where the circles overlap.
Exactly.
And I was like, oh, that's an average. That's an approximation. That's not real.
Right.
Terry, you put the circles there and then just drew a shape on top of it. Anyone can do that with any shape. This is not how the Platonic solids were derived. They're called Platonic because they came from Plato, the Greek philosopher, and he explained quite clearly how they were derived in his dialogue, Timaeus. They're built from right triangles. You're more full of shit than a septic tank.
If I take 4 of these triangular pieces and put them together, based on universal ratios, then it gave me this negative space where 4 bubbles met.
Right.
And based on what Walter Russell had talked about in the nature of how electricity moves, it's always seeking a higher pressure condition.
What universal ratios? Ratios of what? And how are they universal? And these aren't triangles. Triangles have straight lines for sides. And electricity is not seeking a higher pressure condition. Electricity is not even matter. It's a word that describes the flow of charged particles. And particles definitely are not moving towards anything with higher pressure. Entropy dictates that matter will tend to spread out in space, moving towards lower pressure. Everything you say is exactly dead wrong.
This area right here is where electricity is going to be spinning northeasterly.
Okay.
Spinning to the right. Now, as the electricity, as each wave hits here, now it's being pushed by other waveforms, and so it gets pushed out to these vortices at the tip, and now it's no longer able to spin northeast, and so it starts, because it has low density, it has nothing to push against, so it starts spinning southwesternly.
Gotcha.
And now this is where it becomes magnetism.
Gotcha. Do you, Billy? Do you gotcha? Could you pass a quiz on electricity and magnetism now? It's just barely even worth dissecting this. The level of gibberish is that profound. What electricity? Where? What are you talking about? How can a word that only describes a property of particles spin? And how can spinning be done in a linear cardinal direction? Pushed by other waveforms? That's the shape of a wave. It doesn't even mean a wave itself, which wouldn't have made sense to say in the first place. Vortices? Where is the vortex? You mean vertices, you nitwit. It has no density, so it becomes magnetism. Terry is always in a contest to see how meaningless a sentence can be, and he is always winning.
8 contractive sides for the Huntian. 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5, 6, 7, 8 if you were to turn it all the way around. But it only had 6 magnetic poles. So that meant that it had a greater electrical potential than a magnetic or repulsive potential. And I was like, wow, that sounds like a neutron.
Yes.
How the shit does any of that gibberish sound like a neutron, Terry? Oh, right, you're an idiot who thinks the nucleus is held together like magnets. These are not poles. They're not electric or magnetic anything. Electricity and magnetism are part of the same force, electromagnetism, which is both attractive and repulsive, and none of that has anything to do with the strong nuclear force that keeps the atomic nucleus together, despite the repulsion from protons of like charge. You're dumber than rocks.
If you take flour or small amounts of rocks and take them into orbit around Earth and then release them, they're going to naturally attract, and the pressure conditions are going to create an accretion disk, and that accretion disk is going to begin to spin on its axis, which is the formation of planets.
If you bring flour and rocks into orbit, they will form an accretion disk. Will they really, Billy? There's a lot of debris up in orbit already. Why hasn't that collected into a little moon yet? Is it because you have no idea what you're talking about? What you're pretending to reference is a protoplanetary disk, which is how planets do actually form around a new star, and that contradicts Terry's sun poop hypothesis, so I would advise you to tread carefully here. But Terry doesn't listen when you're talking, so you should be safe.
And they create these natural icosahedrons when you put 2 of them on top of each other. I was like, this is the building blocks of the universe.
It's the building blocks of the universe. You're talking about the fractal matrix.
How are these the building blocks of anything in the universe? Show me anything in the universe that's made from your dumb shapes. One thing. And then, of course, Billy jumps in with fractal matrix, 2 words that don't fit at all with these dumb shapes and don't even fit with each other, just to sound as dumb as humanly possible. Billy, this is a fractal, a geometric shape with a complex repeating pattern that appears similar at different scales. This is a matrix, a rectangular array of numbers or symbols. So enlighten me, Billy boy, what the fuck is a fractal matrix? I'll wait.
Watch this. This is us taking a basic physics simulator, the same simulator that they use at Princeton, at Oxford, that the students use at Harvard. It ultimately rebuilt the planet Saturn with its rings and the hexagon that's found at the top. And this is without animation. This is without any fudgery or pushing. And this is without gravity.
No, Terry, we went over this. This is Blender, a program that is used for animation, visual effects, and motion graphics. This is not simulating anything. Nobody at Harvard or Oxford or any other smart people place you want to reference is using this to do any simulations. This is indeed specifically just an animation. You're lying your ass off. That's why you don't actually show us the simulation or demonstrate any of these parameters. You just have this one crappy movie.
It's incredible that it even creates the hexagonal shape at the top of Saturn.
At the top.
Which has been a big question mark.
Of how that came to be.
Right. But it's through the natural formation, through this process of the opening of this flower of life, the energy pattern that exists throughout the known universe, and involved in the accretion process of creating the planet, and then you get this shape, this formation.
It's not a question mark at all. You're just too lazy to Google it. Jet streams and convection, fellas. No flower of life needed. But keep saying the word accretion for no reason. It makes you sound super smart.
Just so the audience will understand it. It says the following models are gravity-free physics simulations and are not animations nor CGI graphics in the standard sense, as there are no keyframe animations present.
No, they are not simulations. They are animations. That's why you made them with animation software and not simulation software. People caught you telling this dumb lie, and this is you responding to being called out for lying. And you've settled on nuh-uh instead of actually showing anybody any kind of simulation. Very convincing.
You're talking about right now we're a type 0 civilization. You skipped over type 1 and went straight to type 2 civilization. On the scale that they have for civilizations that could exist in the universe.
Uh-oh, Billy wants to spew some more bullshit about the Kardashev scale. No, Terry did not create a Type 2 civilization. He did not create a civilization that has total control over its star. He made a shitty movie.
This is what made me say, man, this guy figured out something that's so incredible, so dynamic. This is what should be on the mainstream news every night instead of the garbage that they've been feeding us. This is going to force science to rewrite books.
This is the fractal.
Yes.
Stop saying fractal. You could learn what a fractal is in 10 seconds, but you don't do it. Although I do agree with Billy, if the mainstream news would devote less time to propaganda and more time to mocking idiots like you, the world would be a slightly better place.
This is the four corners that existed that the Bible was talking about. Yeah. The center of the earth, in order for this to exist, there's a sphere in here, a sphere in here, a sphere in here, and a sphere in here. And these four spheres interacting are responsible for all effects of nature.
Right.
What spheres, Terry? What are you talking about? Are the spheres in the room with us now? And how are nondescript spheres that don't exist responsible for all the effects of nature? What is an effect of nature? Do you mean a force of nature? I can't do this.
Which I saw the tangential flight from you when we had our live, months ago. But can you pull that video up? Because that blew my mind.
Yes.
Because then I saw an application of the science. So it's one thing to have ideas, concepts, theories, but once you can see it being applied, it changes your concept and understanding of it completely.
Here's four of them coming together.
Yeah.
And out of the vortices, we've attached now arms.
Mm-hmm.
But the four of these will now come together and lift this 50-pound barrel.
Yeah.
Terry, this is another animation. This isn't real. You paid somebody to make a drone, but it didn't innovate anything new. Omnidirectional flight already existed. They just did it with your dumb shape. And Billy, I'm sorry, that he made a toy with his made-up shape doesn't in any way validate all the bullshit he says about magnetic this and pressure condition that. It's all still total gibberish.
This starts making you even ask questions like, could this technology have existed in the ancient past?
It had to.
Potentially help to build some of these megalithic structures.
It had to.
Yeah, because you can lift an incredible amount of weight with this technology.
Uh-oh, a Billy Terry crossover. Terry's dumb shapes might make an appearance in Billy's dumb Anunnaki stories. That should be fun.
So depending upon how much electricity you run in through one thimble of water, you can send something into space, or you can, send it outside of the solar system. Right. It's able to launch, and that's the goal, was for the linchpins to be launched into space.
Wow. Hey, moron, we talked about this. Your drones have propellers. They push air. They can't fly in space where there is no air. A small child could understand this. You are more clueless than a small child.
The first one is faster than light communications. FTL communications. We're talking about quantum entangled communication. Leveraging the Howard comma as a natural quantum error correction tool, this FTL communication system could enable instantaneous long-distance messaging by keeping the quantum state stable over vast distances. And that's really been one of my dreams, actually, is to be involved in some kind of way creating this, or being involved in a company building a quantum communications device.
Okay, morons, so do it. Invent faster than light communication. Stop podcasting, go into the lab, and make it happen. If you can do it, I'll delete all my content mocking you, issue a public apology, and buy stock in your new company. This is your big dream, right, Billy? So what are you doing wasting your time talking to the public? Be that brilliant innovator you want everyone to think you are. actually fucking do something.
The linchpin or the Howard comma is able to keep communication and is able to predict where this particular object or particle will be and be able to maintain subspace communication.
Right.
It doesn't matter the speed at which it's traveling at or its position or what field it's going through.
Yeah.
It's able to predict all
That's
distribution of matter.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
It doesn't get, I don't care what they've been doing in these universities. None of it comes up to this. If I'm going to throw modesty aside.
Yeah.
Terry, you don't have to worry about throwing modesty aside. You've never had an ounce of it your entire life. What is this bullshit now? You can predict where what particle will be? Billy's cartoon with the rolling balls isn't helping. What did you predict and where is your demonstration of it? You know that saying you did something doesn't mean anything when you clearly did not do that, right?
I didn't tell them what the true value of pi was.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that I've left out.
We already know the value of pi, Terry. And Billy, this is the letter phi. Pi and phi are different letters, which represent different things. And I guarantee neither of you could define what they represent, especially since you tried to do it with the golden ratio right here and failed miserably. I'm glad you actually took the 10 seconds required to copy and paste this from the Adobe website, but you missed the key component of what the ratio actually represents, that being the ratio of the sum of two numbers to the larger value, which is equal to the ratio of the larger value to the smaller value. That's the whole point.
You know, pi is a whole number. Pi is not 3.141592653589 That's not the value of pi. Pi is a whole number.
Oh, wow.
No, pi is not a whole number. It is indeed the number you rattled off, hoping that anyone would be impressed that you memorized a dozen digits. That is the value of pi. If that wasn't the value of pi, you could go ahead and draw a circle, measure the diameter, then measure the circumference, and show that the ratio between them is whatever whole number you're pretending it is. But it won't be that. It'll be pi, because that's what pi is. You're the single dumbest person in human history.
And so our universe expands out like our solar systems expands out in the Oort cloud, and it bumps into other solar systems, which regenerated. And then when four of them come together at 120-degree angles, then guess what? They convert back from magnetism and expanding into an electric charge.
Our solar system does what? It bumps into other solar systems? Yeah, I must have missed that. When did that happen? Because no, it fucking didn't. And now 4 systems are supposed to collide at the same time at some random angle you're not actually defining properly and turn into electric charge? 4 solar systems bump into each other and magically morph into a singular flow of charged particles. What are we doing here?
And I'm a witness to what happens. I didn't eat for a couple of weeks, and I lost 22 pounds. My body cannibalized itself. But I reset everything.
And you're all clear again.
I'm all clear. I'm completely reset.
Just when you thought Billy couldn't get any dumber, he finds a new level by acting surprised that he lost weight by not eating for 2 weeks. Also, he did not do that, and he didn't reset. That doesn't mean anything.
That's life-changing because now you can have deep space travel, because one of the biggest problems is, let's say we hop on a spaceship and we're using conventional rocketry and we get ourselves all the way out to Jupiter and we want to communicate back with home base on Earth. That's going to take a long time. It could take a month.
They'll be bouncing it in their straight line ideas in comparison.
Jupiter is 34 to 52 light minutes away from Earth at any given time. That's how long it would take for communications to travel between the two planets. 34 to 52 minutes. Not a month, Billy. Use your brain. And no, Terry, they don't have to bounce anything. The signals are sent linearly, from one point to another point. Scary straight lines.
We are producing linchpin.
Yeah.
We are producing our lives. We are producing the harmonic wave resequencer, as we speak. We have my people working on all of this stuff. So you just won't be a part of the future if you don't apply yourself to the present.
Yeah.
Yes, we all look forward to the big reveal of your harmonic whatever the hell you're talking about. We totally believe that you have real scientists working on real things, even though you obviously would be inundating us with pictures and footage of them working if you were actually doing anything.
Scientists did experiments with pyramids, tetrahedrons, and they found that if you put plants and grow plants inside of a tetrahedron shape, the plants grow faster because it harnesses more energy, more natural energy from the universe.
Resonant energy that's going back and forth, that
Yes.
oscillatory thing.
No, that is not a thing that happened. That's why you're not referencing any actual study and just showing some dumb cartoon that doesn't even depict any plants.
Another one, they said, quantum-based cosmic internet. So we have the World Wide Web, but they're talking about the cosmic web, right? So they say an interconnected web of quantum communication channels stabilized by the Howard comma, enabling near instant data transfer between planetary systems. We can be on Mars and instantaneously get something off Google from here.
Apart from this being obvious bullshit, my favorite part is that Billy doesn't know what a planetary system means. Mars and Earth are part of the same planetary system, you nitwit. The solar system. Another system would be found around some other star. How does anyone get this stupid? Anyway, there's still about another half hour of high-octane word salad shooting. I mean, really the purest, most condensed, meaningless bullshit I've ever heard coming out of a human mouth. Nobody does it like Terry, but I'm tapping out here. I can't bear another second of these asshats pretending they've figured out faster-than-light travel, teleportation, all this crazy sci-fi stuff when they have absolutely nothing to show for themselves but YouTube videos full of stock footage. It's the most pathetic thing imaginable. Let's just close with one more disgusting tirade from Terry.
You know, my nature, you know, even though I've played so many bad guys, like I will take my time and will not kill anything in my house. You know, I call the fly while it's trying to land someplace, even though my wife wants me to kill it because it could spread germs. I'm just calling it Terry because I know Terry doesn't want to be locked inside this house and doesn't want to get hit with this fly swatter. I know Terry's looking for a way out.
Yeah.
You know, come on, Terry, just be still. And I put that energy out, and 9 times out of 10, I'm always able to capture it and take it outside and.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel this weight lifted off of me
Nice.
because they walk in there thinking that everything's going to be fine and exploring. They don't know it's a death trap. You know, and they don't want to destroy your food. They're just trying to cooperate and coexist with us. So we have to start recognizing, you know, an ant lives for 15 years on average. When you smash one of them, you're destroying great relationships.
Yeah, ants don't live for 15 years, genius. Male ants live for a few days. Worker ants live a few weeks or months. Why do you insist on pulling the most trivial and easily Googleable things completely out of your ass? It's like saying New York City is the capital of America. Everybody knows that. How much of an inveterate liar do you have to be to lie this consistently about literally everything you say? It's astounding. But of course, the far more egregious aspect of this rant is this song and dance about gentle old Terry, who can't even bring himself to hurt a fly when he's been caught beating the crap out of every woman he's ever been with. This is narcissistic gaslighting behavior that sociopaths use to ensnare their victims. For anyone out there who thinks mean old Dave is just picking on poor dumb Terry for no good reason, stop pearl clutching and see who this guy really is. He is an absolute scumbag, and this new grift is only going to end with more violence. Mark my words. As for Billy, we already talked about the damage he does in previous videos, pretending to lift poor black people out of poverty when in fact he's keeping them in it, by discouraging them from pursuing actual knowledge that could lead to a real career, just so that they can send him their money for crappy books full of lies and expensive products that don't do anything. It's not as bad as beating up women, but he's a piece of garbage all the same.
You know, when I go a lot of places, because I'm 6'4", a lot of people, you know, did you play basketball? You know, did you play football? What do you do for a living? I tell them, I'm a scientist. I'm a scientist. That's what I tell people. And you got, just to see the look on a lot of these people's faces when you first tell them that, they're like, huh? A scientist? Like, they're completely shocked. Like, this black guy just told me he's a scientist. You know, you can see it in their face, in their eyes.
There's only one black scientist. That's Neil deGrasse.
Right.
You're not a scientist, Billy. On the list of things you aren't a scientist the most. And I hate to break it to both of you morons, there are thousands of black scientists, not just Neil, and all of them would be deeply, deeply ashamed of you. So that's it for this installment of Bill and Terry's Adventures in the Matrix. I don't know how they managed to keep getting even dumber, but it doesn't seem like they'll be stopping anytime soon. So we'll just have to wait and see what bogus journey they embark upon next. Until then.